Good afternoon, Vinyl community. It's David Michael. It's Monday afternoon, and I wasn't expecting to make this video. I'm very happy to be making this video. I think I said in my probably my last video, I thought that was going to be my last one of the year, as I didn't really suspect I would be having any more, I guess, hauls or finds. I thought I'd maybe have a few bits and bobs, but nothing really worthy of making a video. And then Saturday happened. Through some really weird set of circumstances, all this used vinyl came flying at me. So basically, what I'm going to show you here is a couple new arrivals of new pressings, a lot of Goodwill finds, and I put an ad on a local vinyl sale trade page on Facebook that we have in our city, looking to fill some holes in my progressive rock collection. And you put these ads out there, and you know, progressive rock or prog albums, they're not the easiest to come by, generally speaking. Prog collectors are very kind of obsessive, and you know, and those ones are always in demand. So I threw this ad out there, like one does, and you kind of wish upon a star that someone might reply, and quite often no one does. And then someone did reply. So that was a miracle unto itself. And this was all Saturday. So I have a couple finds from a private seller locally who gave me a really sweet deal on some progressive rock albums. Sorry, cheers. And then, like I said, I have some amazing hauls from Goodwill. So basically what had happened, I'll preface this all by saying, Saturday my wife and I went out to do our grocery thing we always do, and she wanted to stop off at some thrift stores to look for little things that she collects, and I didn't go out. It's the Christmas season, so really I kind of just have Christmas on my mind if you have kids and family and whatnot. So I wasn't expecting to find any vinyl, or even looking for vinyl for that matter. It was more kind of getting our stuff done that we had to get done that day. So lo and behold, I kept on finding records. And on Saturdays, you don't find records at thrift stores where I'm from, because that's when everyone and their dog goes to look for records and other things at thrift stores. Is everyone's got the weekend off. They go to thrift stores, and it's the worst day that I find anyways, because everyone's out there. And I'm not sure if it was the cold or what it was. The Goodwill was busy, so maybe the records just went out, possibly. But I'm going to get right to it. But I'm going to start with a couple new finds or new purchases I got of new pressings. My Crowded House collection is now complete. I got a copy of Together Alone. Arguably maybe their best album, that and Woodface possibly. I'm a huge Crowded House fan. It goes back to the Split Enz days. They were huge in Canada, and I vividly recall hearing the album Split Enz, True Colors, when I was really young at my uncle's house, and it kind of blew my brain apart, because I hadn't heard anything like that before, and it was kind of like a gateway album into music for me. One of several, but that one in particular I recall to this day. So, like I said, Split Enz were really big in Canada, and so was Crowded House. So I've been a fan ever since then, and I got a chance to meet Neil Finn with my wife a few years ago when Crowded House was in Edmonton. So that was a thrill of a lifetime to meet one of my heroes. So that completes my Crowded House collection. And then Roger Waters, Amused to Death. This retails locally and on Amazon anywhere between $60 and $70, sometimes a little bit less, but not much. And I wasn't going to pay that for this album. And then I went to a local store. This one was actually on Friday at a local store, and I went in and I wasn't looking for it. It was marked down to $20 in their clearance bin. And to me, I'll buy this for $20. The pressing is incredible, and I'm used to death. Anyways, quick little story about that. My first record store job 1,000 years ago was at this big stereo store in my city, and they had several stores in my city. But within this big one I worked in, they had a CD department, record department, CD department. And I started off as a part-timer, making a whopping $4, $4.50 an hour, and then I was a full-timer and eventually managed the store. But within the stereo store, they would demo stereo equipment, and they only used a few CDs. Amused to Death was one of them. It was recorded in Q sound, and I think it made the stereo equipment seem a bit better than what it was. If you position everything correctly in the Q sound, it kind of gives a 3D effect. And I'm sure they sold billions of dollars of equipment based upon playing Amused to Death. And I got sick of this album because for 5 years I heard this album 75 times a day for 5 days a week. And I never wanted to hear it again. And then fast forward to when the vinyl re-release came out recently. I was intrigued, being a Pink Floyd Roger Waters fan. Wasn't going to pay the price, and finally got a copy for 20 bucks. I listened to it, and I like it again. It only took 1,000 years to, clear my mind of that album. So, a little story about Roger Waters and Amused to Death. So I'm going to get right to some of my finds. I got a copy of Steve Hackett's Spectral Mornings. And by the way, I ran out of record sleeves. So some of these are going to have sleeves, some aren't. I guess I'm a horrible vinyl collector. I ran out of sleeves. So if my wife is watching, I could use some for Christmas. About 300, please. Thanks. Spectral Mornings. I have a copy of his first solo album, Voyage of the Acolyte. I'm a latecomer to Steve Hackett's solo material, and I love that album. And this one was recommended to me by someone as kind of like the next place to go in his solo discography. So I've been looking for this one, and lo and behold, found this Saturday for I can't remember how much it was, a couple bucks. From that private collector that I was talking about when I put that ad out, I got a copy of Van de Graaff Generator God Bluff. That was one in particular I was looking for. An amazing album. And then I was looking for some early Caravan, which he didn't have, but he had a really insanely clean copy of Canterbury Tales, The Best of Caravan, double album, which has material from their first two albums and after that, obviously. So I was really happy to get this one. And I think that was the only two I got from that one collector. This next one, like I said, this was all within one day on Saturday. One of the places my wife stopped at to look for her little things that she looks for, apart from thrift stores, there's a couple of antique malls, which are generally overpriced for vinyl. So to see this copy there at a super good price, and I didn't have it, and I was thrilled to get this, was an original pressing of Deep Purple, Shades of Deep Purple. Now this is an original Canadian copy on Tetragrammaton. That's a mouthful. And for those of you who know or might not know, that record label was owned by Bill Cosby and his manager, oddly enough. So this is an original Canadian pressing. And I will honestly say this is in excellent condition, the vinyl. So we're going to move on to my thrift store finds. I'm just going to make a big pile here. I found an original Canadian 6000 series pressing on Capitol Records of Jerry and the Pacemakers, Ferry Cross the Mersey. Brian Epstein presents Jerry and the Pacemakers. Obviously, this is probably one of the better British Invasion albums to come out of that era, obviously with all the Beatles stuff and whatnot. But this is the first original pressing I've come across, and I had a Goodwill for $1. That was pretty cool. I'm going to test your memory here on this one. Brian Hyland. This was 1970, and it was produced by Del Shannon. There was a big hit off this album called Gypsy Woman, which was a top 5 hit in most countries. But Brian Hyland, if you might not know, he had a hit with Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. And he had several other hits. He was having hits before the Beatles. But he's continued making albums into the late 60s and 70s, and he had a big hit off this album, like I said, called Gypsy Woman. This is an original Booney Records pressing. So this was a blind buy. I knew who Brian Hyland was, and I kind of vaguely remembered the hit song off here. It's a decent album. I will give him that. This is the second copy I've found of this album, I believe, in a month or so. One of my other videos recently had this, and I keep on finding this album for $1. John Fogerty, the Blue Ridge Rangers. And I believe this was his, I could be wrong, this might have been his first solo project outside of CCR. But for some reason I keep on finding copies of this. And I have a friend in mind who will love this one. Now we're going to get into funk, reggae, and a few jazz things that I found. This was all at one Goodwill. And like I said, I'm just amazed. I'm wondering if they had just put these out, because usually the vultures on a Saturday would have been eating this stuff up. So, like I said, it was a little minor miracle that I was able to find some of these for $1. Donald Byrd, sorry, Caricatures on Blue Note. Found that one. I know Donald Byrd. I've not heard this album yet. Now this one, I had to quickly look on Discogs on my app on my phone. I instantly recognized it as probably a reggae album. It's Colonel Campbell, the Inspector General. And I had a little bit of a minor heart attack when I found out what it's trading for. Not that it's all about value, but when you look at pressings, you kind of invariably kind of look and see what it's worth, and it seems to be worth quite a bit of money. So Colonel Campbell, the Inspector General. I've not heard this one yet. I've not played a lot of these records yet. I'm kind of curious of what Fat City Vinyl might think of this, Doug, as a lot of you guys might know. Another reggae album, Lunny Liston Smith Loveland. I've not heard this album either. I'm aware of him, but I've not heard this album yet. So that was in that bunch of stuff I found at Goodwill. I found a couple Herbie Hancock albums, Future Shock, which obviously has the hit Rocket on it. And then I found a copy of Sound System. I think most people know this album as a pretty damn good kind of funk album, Mother's Finest. Funk rock, whatever you want to call it. I have found this album a few times at thrift stores, and I've always kind of traded it. And I think this one I'm going to keep, though. It's a very nice copy. Isaac Hayes' Tough Guys soundtrack for $1 in the nice gatefold. So yeah, that was a really, really exciting find to find. I'm going to speak now properly. This was a super nice find. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. This one I bought on cover only, and I don't think it's incredibly valuable, but the band's called Shotgun, and it's a funk album, obviously. But look at that cover. Are you going to tell me these guys aren't making a damn good funk album? I'm hoping anyways. So I looked at the cover, and I bought that on, like I said, on cover only. How can these guys not make a great funk album? We'll find out. This was probably one of the more exciting finds of that Goodwill haul. It's quite valuable, apparently. It's quite sought after by collectors. And it's an incredibly clean copy of The Funk Factory on Atco Records, original Atco Records pressing. I was aware of this album, and I was aware of the band from people who would message me every now and again, hey, if you ever see this album, pick it up for me. Or do you have this album? Would you want to trade it? I've never seen this album in my hands or anywhere, not even at record fairs, not used record stores. There you go, found it at Goodwill for $1. I'm just realizing some of these I haven't taken the dollar price tag off of, sorry. So, Average White Band, Warmer Communications. In that one haul at Goodwill, there was probably about 4 or 5 Average White Band albums. And some of them I had, and some of them weren't in the greatest condition, so I left those behind. This one was in a nice, this one's in nice condition, and the cover's okay. It's a good album cover anyways. I've not heard this one either, so I look forward to spinning that later. And George Harrison, Cloud 9. Nothing special about that. We all know this album. That was there as well. So there's a couple more finds here I want to show you. The funk and reggae and jazz stuff was pretty exciting, and the progressive rock stuff too was pretty exciting as well. But these, like I said, that Saturday we had gone for groceries, thrift store, one antique mall, and then these just popped up. The Cure mixed up double remix album. This had been on my want list for a long time, and here it is, UK pressing. As I've established in other videos, I'm a huge Kiss nerd. Yeah. Sorry. So when I find their albums in good condition, that's pretty exciting. I have all copies, and I have multiple copies of some albums. But all three of these are ones I don't have, which was kind of cool unto itself. I got a copy of The Elder, music from The Elder, and this is from the Netherlands. So it's a copy I don't have in the gatefold. And whoever had this before, custom made a gatefold. I don't think these were sold this way, and if they were, I've never seen one like this, but it comes in some kind of a custom sleeve on it. But this is a copy from Holland in incredibly nice condition. I found a copy of Rock and Roll Over, which I have several copies of this album, but what I've never had before is, some of you might know what I'm going to pull out, is it has the sticker inside, unpeeled, original inner sleeve. So yeah, there's one more Kiss album to show you. So on Saturday I found 3 Kiss albums. Just like I said, it was an amazing day. I've had a couple days to kind of get over the excitement about it. But 3 Kiss albums I didn't have. And Ace Frehley's solo album. But what's cool about this is a lot of the solo albums, as you might know, have cut marks because they were so heavily pressed and they didn't sell as well as they thought. So most copies I come across have a cut corner indicating it went into the delete bin. This one is fully intact. Obviously, it's the best of the solo albums. But like I said, and you probably know what I'm going to pull out too. The vinyl is in beautiful condition, obviously, or I wouldn't have got it. Has the original inner sleeve. And lo and behold, it has the poster. So that was the 3rd Kiss find that day. And like I said, maybe it's one of those things like when you least expect it and when you're not looking, all this, things appear. And sometimes when you go out with the express purpose of looking for vinyl and you're looking for specific stuff, invariably you'll strike out. And then Saturday, wasn't expecting a goddamn thing, and then all this vinyl happened. So I'm going to safely assume this will be my last major haul video of 2016. So if you've made it through this video, thank you very much as always. I hope I didn't stumble too much through it. Thank you to everyone who watches. Thank you to everyone who subscribed and comments. As always, I make it a point to watch all your videos and comment where I feel necessary. And I can see a lot of people having more great finds as always. The finds are supposed to slow down as we get closer to Christmas, but I guess everyone's been getting gold, so that's awesome to see. It gives one hope. Anyways, so I'm going to end this video. If I make another video, it probably won't be a haul video or vinyl finds video anyways. So but as far as this goes, that's it for 2016. Thanks to everyone who's watched the videos that I've been making this year. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to sign off. David and Michael for the vinyl community. Have a great rest of the week.